I'm pretty sure you're tired being recorded on the internet by all the governments around the world, and you certainly want to take your privacy back. But the only bad news I have for you today is the fact that there's somebody else tracking you online. My name is Steve Smith, and this is TQA Weekly. If ever you have any questions, comments, suggestions, and or stories, email me at ask@tqaweekly.com. Go to my website, tqaweekly.com, and use the contact form. And if you're watching on one of the many websites on the internet I post to every single week, just put it down in the comments box down below. This episode of TQA Weekly is brought to you by ProXPN. ProXPN is a virtual private network that allows you to use the internet the way it should be, anonymously and without oversight. For 20% off your new account, go to proxpn.com/podcast and use the coupon code TQAWEE. So, are you wondering who is recording everything you're doing on the internet? We know that the CIA and NSA and MI6, Canadian government, and every other government around the world is doing it. Despite the fact they're all getting pissed off at the United States, they are all doing it, whether they like to admit it or not. We know they are doing it, but they are not the only ones technically advanced to do it. In fact, they are probably having to go to this agency in order to be able to get all the actual data coming off your computers. So, who is it? Well, now for the reality check. It is your internet service provider. They are the single biggest privacy violation waiting to happen. They are the weakest link in the internet. And here's another point of fact. Every single website, every single server, every single person connecting to the internet has to connect through an internet service provider. So here is the problem. All of your data goes through an ISP. It goes through several ISPs because it has to leave one server and leave through one ISP where it can be recorded and the metadata is recorded, and it goes through your ISP and any other ISPs in between, and the metadata is recorded, and maybe your data is actually recorded at the same time. They're transmitting the actual data. They are capable of recording it, and they can even watch it pass through their servers. Therefore, if the government really wanted to, they can go up to your ISP and demand that they record all the traffic coming off your computer. Let's go a step further. You can use SSL. Wrong. SSL will protect the content of the message. It will not protect the metadata. You are required to transmit metadata in order to be able to receive the data you requested. So even over SSL, you are leaving metadata lying around, which your ISP can record. And they can still record the encrypted information for a later date in which they could technically be able to decode the encrypted data in the future. Now, you may be saying, well, what about the use of a VPN? Well, the VPNs are good at allowing you to have a different exit node, but your ISP and their ISP still knows what you are trying to do. They know you're connecting through a VPN, so your ISP is transmitting the encrypted information over the internet, which they can record even though they can't see, and their ISP knows you connected to that VPN since you had to pass through them, so they can actually connect you and then have the actual connection done. They can actually see the handshake occur, and it can prevent you from encrypting at a higher and more secure level. They can basically downgrade the security if they were coerced or complicit in an action that would actually violate your privacy by making the encryption weaker than it was supposed to be. So VPNs can help you have a different exit node, but they don't actually protect the metadata from being shown, since it is now possible for anybody to figure out where you were connecting to. From there, they can theoretically figure out what you were trying to access from the exit node by getting all the data recorded from that point. Now, you may be thinking, Tor is a great idea. Unfortunately, for anyone who knows about Tor, it is actually not that secure. It's security through sheer numbers. So yes, they do actually encode all the packets so that you have an onion form where all these packets don't know where they're necessarily going to be ending at. However, since you need a significant amount of Tor traffic in order to hide your traffic, this is basically security through obscurity. People can see your Tor traffic if you're the only one in the entire city. And nonetheless, your ISP actually knows what's going on. So they know you're connecting over Tor. Some people have been known to connect through a VPN to Tor, like those who connected to Silk Road. However, lest we forget, Silk Road was taken down. Therefore, it is still technically possible for people to be tracked even over the Tor network. So, with all this bad news, are you starting to see a trend of how insecure the internet actually is and the fact that your privacy is pretty much non-existent? Well, you're not alone. So basically, what ends up happening is, if you have a message to send, what you need to remember is the metadata is going to be known. Whether the message is encrypted or not, it's going to be known. So the best way to protect your privacy is to encrypt everything. Because the second you encrypt one thing, that will be a flare for any government agency on the internet. If you encrypt everything, they may look at all the traffic, but they won't be able to tell the difference. Telling your parents or your friends any messages that are encrypted will lead to, no important information whatsoever for a government agency, so that eventually they may just, leave most of your messages alone. You can use PGP encryption to encrypt all of your outgoing messages, and you may want to refer to the Open PGP Alliance before using a commercial PGP service. That way you don't overspend. If you need to send a file to another person over the internet, try using TrueCrypt to encrypt the file. That way, anybody who intercepts the file can't decode it. And make sure you send the password through another communication means. So not by email, either call, and those, by the way, can be recorded, or even give them on a piece of paper in person the password that you will universally use with them. And by the way, for those who didn't know, it is possible to send a file in a PGP encrypted message. So if you're using one of these programs on a desktop, you can encrypt the message with the encrypted file with PGP to protect both the message and the actual file. So if all of this scares you still, there is one other way of getting information to other people. However, it is much slower, and it comes from when I was a kid, and even before then. It's called the sneaker net. So what you could do is use an encrypted USB drive and give it to somebody else to give it to somebody else. That is slower, but it is far more secure. Just remember to make sure that the USB key drive is in fact encrypted with a code that the transmitting person does not know. You can even send it over to mail if you wanted to. This is basically a reality check into how we are literally screwed on the internet, and we are nowhere near as private as you think. Remember, your ISP knows exactly what you're trying to do. They could record everything you're downloading and trying to access, and they do record all the metadata coming off your connection. So keep that in mind when you're on the internet. Make sure you use SSL over the internet as much as possible, at least to encode your message. You can use VPN to at least partially anonymize you from other websites. Just don't be naive into thinking that your ISP won't know what you're doing, because they will know you're going over a VPN. Now, this episode of TQA Weekly is brought to you by ProXPN. Now more than ever, your online freedom and privacy are under threat. Governments and ISPs want to control what you can or cannot see, while keeping a detailed record of what you do. Plus, that free Wi-Fi at the coffee house or airport terminal is putting you at risk, because your passwords and sensitive data can be intercepted more easily than you think. What I just finished saying throughout this entire episode. ProXPN is a global VPN virtual private network that works with almost any internet connection. It creates a secure, encrypted tunnel through which all your online data passes back and forth. Any online application can work with ProXPN, including your web browser, email, file sharing, and instant messaging programs. ProXPN keeps everything you do online hidden from prying eyes, disguising your physical location and giving you unfettered access to any website or online service, no matter where you live or travel to. Just a point of fact, if you really want to make sure you're not being necessarily sniffed as much as having your connection inside the United States, you may want to try one of their connections outside the United States to be able to be a little bit more private, at least be in countries that have tighter privacy laws. Complete online privacy with 2048-bit encryption key and 512-bit encryption tunnel. Works with OpenVPN and PPTP. You get to choose. Protect yourself against your ISP 6 strikes rule, because they can't actually see the traffic occurring in it. They only know you're actually connecting over a VPN. Bypass internet filtering and blocked websites. Geographical restrictions with internet content and online video worldwide servers in the US, UK, Asia, and more. ProXPN software for Windows and Macs offers advanced controls, allowing you to select the programs and ports you want to anonymously route through ProXPN servers. So your favorite video game, you'll connect locally, but for that video you want to see in the United States that you can't access, you'll connect through there. ProXPN also works with iOS and Android, allowing you to use your data plan or public corporate Wi-Fi with complete and total privacy on the go, no app required, even though that if you go onto the ProXPN website, they do in fact now have an Android and iOS application. So remember, all you need to do is to go to proxpn.com/podcast for more information and to sign up. TQA Weekly watchers and listeners will also get a free 30-day risk-free trial. Remember to visit proxpn.com/podcast and sign up with the coupon code TQAWEE. ProXPN premium accounts are normally $9.95 a month and $74.95 for the entire year. We have a special offer for you. If you use the coupon code TQAWEE, which helps out this show a lot, you will receive 20% off the entire lifetime of your ProXPN premium account. Thank you for watching, subscribing, and have a great day. And I hope I didn't scare you too much. Bye. Thank you for listening to TQA Weekly. Show your support by liking this episode, subscribe to get our latest episodes as they come out, and share with friends and family who may benefit from such a show as this. You may send us your questions, comments, suggestions, and or stories to ask at tqaweekly.com. For our show notes, links to our Android application, alternate means of subscribing to our show, and information on joining our weekly newsletter, head over to tqaweekly.com. Stay safe and online, and have a great day.